Hey guys, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to share with you my January wrap up, all the books that I read in January. I had a pretty good reading month, a couple of books that were almost there for me, almost five-star reads, but didn't quite make it. And I had one DNF too, which I'll talk about, so let's get into it. The first book that I completed in January, so my very first read of 2018, was The Road by Cormac McCarthy, and this is a post-apocalyptic book about a man and his son, and they are trying to travel. They are somewhere in America, it never really specifies where, and they are trying to travel south to the coast. I'm assuming because it's warmer and they're hoping that it's going to be safer. The story in this was really good. I was really gripped by it, and it was, of course, incredibly sad, but it's kind of what you expect, I think, in a post-apocalyptic novel. Like, you never really knew what exactly happened, but everything was just completely ravaged, and food was scarce, and the weather was turning, and it was cold, and it was just so bleak and just ugh. But it was a really good story. And the characters, you never really knew too much about them other than what they're going through in the present. You don't even know their names. And yeah, I liked the story. However, I had some issues with the writing. It took me quite a while to get used to the writing style. It's just very different. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, let me read you the first two sentences of the book, because like this is what an example of like what the writing is like. Okay, so here we go. When he woke in the woods in the dark and the cold of the night, he'd reach out to touch the child sleeping beside him. Nights dark beyond darkness, and the days more gray each one than what had gone before. Like, come again? I just had a hard time with the writing sometimes, and it took a while to sink in and to get used to. The other thing was, like, anytime there was dialogue, there were never quotation marks around the dialogue. It was broken up in the text, but never quotation marks, and never identifying the speaker, so you had to kind of figure out who was talking. So those kinds of things were a little bit jarring, and for that reason, I gave the book 4 stars instead of 5. I would have probably given it 5 stars if it weren't for those things, and I'm not really sure if I get along with Cormac McCarthy's writing based on this book. So please let me know down below if you've read some of his other work and if you think I should give him another shot, because I really, like I said, I really enjoyed the story. It's just the writing, I'm not sure I got along with it. Next up, I completed The Dressmaker by Rosalie Ham, and this was the my local book club's pick. So we are going to be watching the movie in the next couple of weeks, sometime here in February. And this book is a historical fiction set in the 50s. It takes place in Australia, and it's about a woman who, when she was much younger, gets sent away from this little tiny town that she lives in, and you find out later why. And she comes back as an adult to basically to care for her ailing mother, and the entire town still loathes her and treats her like crap. And she comes back though, and she is a dressmaker. She learned to make these beautiful, beautiful gowns and dresses and everything, pantsuits, everything, while she was living in Paris. She trained under some like high-level fashionistas or whatever. And so in that way, the women of the town start to rely on her and stuff like that, even though they also treat her like crap. Overall, I liked the story. It turned out to be a really good revenge story. Like, the ending, I was like, whoa, you know, like, wow, that just happened. The thing about it, though, was the characters, for the most part, other than the main character, they were just so awful. And I think you're supposed to feel that way about them, because I think you're supposed to side with the main character. But all the people in this town, they were just terrible. And not only were they mostly terrible, there are a lot of them. So in the beginning of the book, it was hard to kind of sort through who everybody was and to figure that stuff out. And they were quirky and just kind of weird. But I liked the town itself, even though it was full of mostly despicable people. And I liked that the story was a bit darker than I thought it was going to be. It kind of didn't know what it wanted to be. It was dark, but it was funny. There was a love story going on. There was like just some good old-fashioned drama going on. So there's like a lot going on in this book where I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not sure what it was like supposed to be or was trying to be. It was trying to be a lot of things at once. And so I kind of walked away from it even though I liked the ending and I felt that it was pretty satisfying and pretty dark. I still just wasn't sure what to think of it. So I would recommend it to people, but just know that going in that it's a little darker than it seems, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, the next book that I began reading in January and ended up DNFing was The Painted Girls by Cathy Marie Buchanan. I believe the name was. I can't remember because I already unhauled the book. I got about halfway through it, and it just wasn't what I was looking for. It wasn't what I wanted in that book. I thought it was going to be about the Paris Ballet of the during that time, the late 1800s, and Degas, Edgar Degas, the artist, his ties to that whole scene. And about half of the book was that, because it was told from 2 sisters' perspective, and the one sister was kind of telling that story, and the other was telling this completely different story that I just wasn't even interested in. And then there was also like some murders thrown in there somehow that I was just like, why is this even necessary? And I was just getting really bored because I was only liking one half of the narrative, so, and it just wasn't what I wanted and what I was looking for, so I DNF'd it. I figured I have plenty of other books to read, no sense wasting my time on one that I'm just not feeling. So yeah, DNF'd that. But then next I did finish Greener Pastures by Michael Wehunt, and this is a short story collection. And what I did to get a rating for this book was I went through and rated each individual story. There was 12 stories in here, and I went through and rated each one and then did like an average. So on average, I am giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. Because of the 12 stories that are in there, I believe I gave 2 or 3 of them 5 stars. Overall, I thought that these stories were really good. Some of them were pretty creepy, a little bit weird, which I like. My favorite story in here was the title story, Greener Pastures. Super creepy. Just right up my alley. It was very, if you like the old Twilight Zone show episodes, it was very much could have been like a Twilight Zone episode. It just takes place in this little diner in the middle of nowhere, and it was just really, really creepy. So yeah, I liked this collection. I would definitely recommend it to people who like horror, but also just kind of quirky, kind of weird, different stories. That's definitely what this book was. Next up, I finished The Revenant by Michael Punke, I believe is how you say it. Punke, I don't know. I'm going to say Punke. And this one was made into a movie, and I actually saw the movie before I read the book, so I kind of had an idea of what the plot was going to be. And it's about a guy named Hugh Glass, who was a real person, but this story is fictionalized, which I did not realize until I read the afterword at the end. Anyways, it's about a guy named Hugh Glass who works in a fur trapping company, and this is in the mid-1800s, I want to say. 1820s, 1830s, if I remember right. And he gets mauled by a bear and is tore up pretty bad, as you can imagine. And the other people in his company think that he's going to die. So the captain of the company, after trying to drag him along for a while, says, you know what, we just can't do this. And he leads 2 guys, has them stay behind with him. Basically, stay behind, and when he dies, bury him, and then come and catch up with us. Well, instead of doing that, the 2 guys ended up robbing him, leaving him for dead. And, yeah, he didn't die. So the book is about him finding his way back to the company and seeking revenge on the 2 guys that robbed him and left him. This is definitely more of a survival story. It says on here that it is a story of revenge. I feel like the revenge aspect was lacking a little bit for me. The ending was a little bit unsatisfying, in my opinion. But I thought that as a survival story, it was really good because Hugh Glass is in the middle of nowhere. It's getting cold. he has nothing because these guys took everything. So he has nothing in terms like to help him hunt or to keep him safe. Like I said, the weather's turning. He's got to look out for wild animals like bears. And also there are Native American tribes all over the place that will just kill him like the second they saw him. So the odds were just stacked against him. And that aspect of the story was really good. I really liked the survival aspect. But like I said, the revenge aspect, not so much. And the writing was really descriptive. It almost felt like I was reading nonfiction, but it lacked like emotion. And for as much like rage and just anger that Hugh Glass had against these guys, it didn't really come across in the writing. The writing was just very like cut and dry, and it was very much more just about describing how, for pages on end, how long it took him to start a fire and stuff like that. So the writing was a little bit meh for me. But overall, I liked the story. I would say I can't remember if the movie was different than the book, but I would definitely say check out the movie because I thought the movie was really good. That's why I turned to the book and decided to read the book. But yeah, I wouldn't say don't read it. It was okay. I liked it. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. All right, then I finished off the month by reading John Dies at the End by David Wong, and wow, you guys, this was a wild, crazy, weird book. It was just what I was looking for, honestly. Yeah, where do I even begin? Okay, John Dies at the End is about 2 guys, John and Dave, and they come across this drug that when you take it, it's like you can see into parallel worlds, cross into parallel worlds. You can see creatures that are always there, but in our realm, we just don't see them. But when you're on this drug, you can see them. So they see all kinds of creepy stuff, weird stuff, and it was just wild. Like the prologue, like I read the prologue and I was like, oh my gosh, what? This is nuts. Like I don't even know about this. But I ended up really liking the story, you guys. I thought that the characters, Dave and John in particular, were so funny. And it had the perfect balance of humor and horror. So if you like things like the Evil Dead series, then you would like this book because that's pretty much what it is. There are things in there that like kind of scare you and make you cringe, but there's also plenty of things in there that make you laugh out loud. Just ridiculous. The only issue again that I had with this book was the narrative, the structure of it, I guess. It did not have a flow to it at all. It was a bit choppy. It felt like there was like 3 separate stories and they put it in a book, and I think actually I read afterwards that is what happened with this. It originated online somewhere and then was put into a book. So I think that they could have maybe done a better job editing to make it flow better, because the flow, there just like wasn't flow. It was like boom, boom, boom. So I'm hoping that in the subsequent books, that gets a little better. So like I said, if you like things like The Evil Dead, like those movies and stuff, I think you would really like this book, and I really enjoyed it, and I definitely plan on reading the other 2 books in the series, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Alright guys, so those are all the books that I read in the month of January. I thought that I kicked off 2018 pretty well. I think I had some good reads in here. Even though I had a DNF, hey, it happens. So please let me know down below what you read in January, how you started off your new year, because I would love to know. And of course, if you've read any of these books, please let me know what you thought of them, because I'd love to talk about it. Anyway, guys, I hope that you have a wonderful week and that January treated you well. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.